2020 was 'n rollercoaster. Soms het dit gevoel of jy soos 'n hula hoop van heup tot heup geskit word, maar ek is daarvan oortuig dat jy nie kan wag om net te drop in die ocean. Maar voordat jy dit kan doen, wat 'n voorreg om vandag met 'n internasionale kunstenaar te kan gesels. Die kunstenaar wat die 3 liedjies bekend gemaak het. Liedjies soos Rollercoaster, Hula Hoop en Drop in the Ocean. Ek verwelkom graag vir OMI. OMI, thank you so much for joining us on die groot ontbyt.
Hello.
OMI means grandma in German, and Oma is Afrikaans for grandma. So why OMI?
OMI is actually, it actually comes from the name Omar because in Jamaica, we are accustomed to giving what we call aliases or pet names. So growing up, they would normally just shorten your real name. So that's how OMI came about. So I haven't really looked into the meaning until people in interviews started telling me what the meaning is.
The world's perception about Jamaica is very limited because of things like Cool Runnings, the movie, Usain Bolt, and I think we can name a lot of things. What kind of stereotypes have you found people have about Jamaica?
Well, they believe that every one of us speaks like Yemen. Like that's like that's their go-to impression of a Jamaican, and they associate they associate me with Bob Marley a lot. Like, oh, Bob Marley, you're from the country that Bob Marley is from.
Are there any stereotypes that you wish to debunk?
No, I mean, not really. Listen, as long as something is not really offensive, you get what I'm saying? If it is nothing, if it's not intended to be offensive, I really don't care. You know?
OMI, your dad passed away when you were 9 years old. He was an outstanding and talented man, also an artist of influence.
Yes.
Did this influence your choice of pursuing a career in music?
Well, for me, I had the pleasure of knowing my father for 9 years. You know, being around him, emulating his character a lot. You know, admiring so much about him. Now, when he died, you know, I felt a bit of obligation to fulfill, like, to carry on his legacy, you know, the legacy that he was building. So that was my first introduction to music. But then I realized that I also possessed like a huge passion for it.
Is it true that you were a police officer for a short period of time?
Yes. Yes, I was.
Did this experience have any influence on your positive music or lyrics?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I mean, totally. I think my journey as a law enforcement officer is is very important because it has taught me a lot of discipline, which is the same discipline that I'm now able to apply to my professional career as an artist, as a musician. You know, so I think that job instilled in me the discipline that I needed. That I needed for this other phase of my life. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, you know?
Did you ever fire a weapon?
Yes, which I can't really talk about, you know, because that's sensitive information.
You went to Garvey Maceo High School in Gimme Me Bit. Is it a common
Yes.
thing for Jamaica to have peculiar names for regions or suburbs?
Yeah, it is. I never really researched what that community was, who that was named after, but yeah, it's very common for that to happen. Yes.
Are there any notable examples that you can think of which you can give?
I mean, yeah, like you'd have like May Pen. And then there would be a story behind how it came about to be called Maypen, which is where I'm from, Maypen, Clarendon. And that's actually the name of that town, which is the capital of Clarendon, you know?
OMI, don't you move, I still have a lot to ask. Dit is OMI op die groot ontbyt. Wat 'n voorreg om vandag met internasionale sangsensasie OMI te kan gesels. OMI, once again, thank you so much for joining. When Cheerleader was released, people could immediately relate to the song because, I mean, we all have that kind of cheerleader, someone who needs to cheer us on. Interestingly enough, Cheerleader was composed in 2008 by yourself. However, it was only recorded and released in 2012. So why the wait with this hit?
Because at first it was the original idea behind it was not for it to be a complete song, you know. And after I met Mr. Clifton's specialist Dylan, who was my manager to this day, he suggested that we made it into a song because it was a very real. It was a very real topic. It was relatable. Had a very catchy melody. And it was something that was way ahead of its time, you know, and he saw where it had a greater potential instead of what was the original idea, you know. And so we went ahead and I wrote it, we recorded it, and we put it out in 2012 at first in its original form before the remix. And we saw how people ran with it. And so many people related to it, you know.
Who would you say is your biggest cheerleader?
Well, I have so many right now. My mom, you know, I have my lady. I have my beautiful daughter. You know, so there's so many people right now. I used to say it's just my mom, but thankfully, you know, I have, you know, more people around me that supports me and encourages me.
Talking about cheerleaders, a big chunk of our viewership, the people who cheer us on a daily basis, are older and a bit, let's say, conservative. How would you convince and encourage them to take a ride on your roller coaster song?
Well, with everything happening in 2020, you know, a lot of people are we're going through a real state of depression right now based on the coronavirus and the restrictions. You know, this has put a hamper on a lot of people's livelihood. You know, a lot of people has to be conforming to this new norm. And it is as difficult as it is. Now, my duty, my solemn duty as a musician, as an artist, as a creative person who has this platform is to entertain and bring that refreshing feeling, that feeling like you're on a vacation and you're in that little confined space that you have to, you know, quarantine or whatever it is. My job is to bring happiness and joy and just that feeling, you know. So I'm bringing vacation to your home. Basically.
Vacation to your home. I like the sound of that.
Exactly.
Let's talk about music. So the way people consume music has changed a lot over the past decade.
Yes.
How have you seen the industry change and develop and evolve? How do you see the next era of music, especially if we think about streaming?
Yes, like there's a lot of things that I've observed, you know, during my tenure but my you know, the 5 years that I've been traveling, meeting people, interacting with people in the music fraternity. Music is a lot more accessible now, you know, and it doesn't take as much. Like a lot of people are going independent now because it doesn't take as much to get your content out there as it used to, you know. So a lot of people, a lot of artists, a lot of producers, they're cutting out the middleman because, you know, they see where in their minds it's more profitable to just go solo and do their own thing. You know, you have the freedom of creativity, there's so much benefits to it, but at the end of the day, you know, you gotta, the coin, they're both sides of the coin. So if you do your assessment and that's your preference, then that's your preference.
OMI, in a 2018 Billboard article, you spoke about the next chapter, why you are a fan of your fans and the importance of protecting that which is sacred. What is sacred to you?
For me, what is sacred to me is my brand. I take my brand very seriously. I think even, and this is one of the reasons why, like, I'm not very big on in terms of social media, like, posting a lot of private stuff about myself. I'm a very reserved private person, boring sometimes if if you ask me, but I don't care. That's just my personality. I protect my brand by being reserved. You get what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you do 99 good and you do one bad. And, it all flips like that all of a sudden. So you just got to try to walk the straight and narrow. And even when you do that sometimes, there's always somebody still trying to find something. You get what I'm saying? For whatever reason, maybe for their content, maybe that's how they make their money. They get their likes and their views up, So, hey, you owe it to yourself to protect your brand, protect yourself. And that's my way of doing it. I'm sorry.
OMI, well, all the best. We can't wait to join you on that roller coaster.
Thank
So
you.
gesels OMI internasionale sangsensasie net hier op die Groot Ontbyt.